Now, if I took the air power projection, this would help when you fight in an air zone different than the one where the air base is. Where's the air power projection factor? It's hidden somewhere, but I do seem to remember it's actually lower by default. Like, air wings normally fight worse in air zone other than where the air base is. And this just partially offsets the penalty. That is, shoot, this. And I'm more likely to take continuous strike for the stat buffs to fighter bombers, or steel wings, steel heart, so I can use green air wings. Or veteran air instructors as a certain use. Oh, this doesn't benefit from industry liaisons? I guess it's only these lines do. Since I'm swimming in more air XP than I could ever need, I can actually switch around these spirits based on what's beneficial right here, right now, kind of thing. Let's see. Between two rivers. So I could reduce the air accent chance and the NATO operations penalty a little with steel wing, steel heart, or I could. Not currently doing a tech industry liaisons is kind of useless. Doesn't make sense to do this because I won't get the RXP invested back for this because I'm not signing. Effective training programs. That's probably what I want. Or aircrew surveys. It'll take longer to train the pilots, but I'll have fewer accidents. Let's see. 25% higher gain means you spend 80% of the time training. This means you spend normal amounts of time, but you have 70... Yeah, this will actually lead to fewer aircraft loss. So, this is faster. This is better for equipment. So I might institute aircrew surveys. And veteran air instructors, because when you lose pilots to air accidents, you actually lose a little air wing XP when you get a green pilot to replace them. It's 100 air XP just to save a handful of aircraft, but why not? I'm swimming in all I could ever need. And then go back to industry liaisons. I'm ready to do another tech. Dive bombing also helps with like bomb techs. If you really wanted to throw away a lot of air XP. Like say you're just doing bomb techs and you have all your air doctrines, but you still have a bombing tech. Like, what I mean by bomb techs is stuff like heavy bombs. If you don't have those and you're getting it late in the game, you might actually run dive bombing for a little while. It also saves air XP on designs, but not less than you're investing. Yeah. So this only buffs stats, only helps casts be harder to shoot down for enemy fighters, or fighter bomber casts. They become so good they trade better than fighters. This helps in bombing into a different air zone. This helps aces, which I don't have. Yeah, I'll probably just invest in training the pilots. If I had thought ahead and trained these pilots months ago. Oh well. No use crying over spilt milk or something like that. So I'm gonna have to import oil just to keep up with. No, buy some more Romanian oil for now. I don't care about the anti-air platform that much. Did I just finish teching? I'm so tired I can't even remember. Something here. I think it was homing torpedoes. Right. If it wasn't, well, whatever. Let's see, I could get armor techs. Let's see. The highest armor rating would be the one for battleships. That's battleship. And the lowest would be for cruisers, so, okay. I think the default battlecruiser armor, the lowest level one, doesn't even require steel. Nope, doesn't. So I'm not going to use any of the improved battlecruiser armor. It's not worth the steel. The whole point of the battlecruiser is to economize on steel versus destroyers. But only if the armor is real lightweight. Deck conversions. Could do that whole thing I was talking about before with the deck conversion. Can always do electric torpedoes later. Sub-primacy someday. I'm probably not going to swap out of this for a long time. Though there is a value to going over to fleet and being. How many of these naval power projection buffs do I get? 2. Yeah. Someday I could swap to fleet and being base strike, and then there's a thing that would give me buffs to carrier research speed. Maybe I'll do that someday. Been trying to get my mileage out of integrated designers first. I'm not going to bother with any of these armor schemes because I don't have the steel. It's just not worth it except to grow MAOs, which is somewhat important, but this benefits. Yeah. Alright, so I can do electric torpedoes. Finish out the actually useful naval modules. I'm never going to use any of these because they all cost steel. So, techs they probably won't do unless they just want to throw political power into an MNIO to gain funds. Electric torpedoes, on the other hand, useful someday. Wait, why can you do this with Task Force Shipbuilder? They have no buffs to subs. It's probably because it's torpedo tech. Anyways, let's grow the rating ML. Once they get their final trait, they can produce subs quicker. Right now, these guys benefit production more. That'll only tie that too. Oh yeah, these have welding specialists, production output cost, yeah. They'll always be a little better than the rating fleet, which I suppose when I have all my designs I can switch them to welding specialists. But yeah, so I'll probably always use Boommaster and Bane. I'll eventually want their traits for carriers anyways, for any ship that's eligible, but subs can only be produced by the rating fleet. And I'm going to be doing more subs. They're efficient, and half the reason the battlecruiser may always just sit in port, basically fleet and being. It may just be an anti-air battlecruiser, so if someone tries a port strike, the anti-air battlecruiser will absorb a lot of the hits instead of the destroyers, which have very little anti-air. People aim for the big ship, whose entire purpose is to protect the destroyers against port strikes. The AI doesn't do many port strikes, but they're not. I've seen them do it on rare occasion, and if I'm facing the United States faction, if I end up at war, all my naval bases are pretty much in range of Norway, Sweden, which means I could suffer port strikes. Where the Americans could just anchor a carrier force right off my coast and use carrier nav for that, but they're not smart enough for that usually. They'll only do port strikes usually from land-based air bases. Like, where's the nearest air base to me? Gutenberg. The Gutenberg air base. It's only level 1. Oslo is level 8 though. I think this is in range. It was upgrade like heck during the Norwegian Civil War. Stockholm is level 6. So yeah, from Oslo and Stockholm I could suffer massive American airstrikes on my ships if they're docked anywhere but out in the Faroe Islands, and then it's in range of Iceland. So the battlecruiser will most likely just defend my... I'll kind of run a fleet in being. This will at least force the Americans to use more ships to establish naval supremacy, and I'll try and use mine laying and a strike force and maybe some subs on patrol to harass their patrol ships if they use cruisers, for instance, to patrol, which are the most cost-effective in fuel. Cruisers don't necessarily have depth charges. I will take pot shots at their cruisers with my subs, so I'll have some subs that are convoy, like they're high torpedo tube, high engine, stealthy little subs. I don't have a sub MIO, but if I get a naval research facility, I could also get anionic tiles, but those add rubber to production costs for your subs, I think. And honestly, I can't afford the research facility anytime soon. So, yeah. Just have to rely on probably 1944 subs with level 2 snorkels to try and harass their patrols. I'll probably lose a lot of subs, but my admirals will gain XP. And yeah, fleet and being will just tie up some of their resources. They can't do other things with them. It's not great, but it'll be a long time until I can face the American Navy at sea. I'll have to basically roll over, kind of blitzkrieg through Germany. Historical revenge for, you know, the Nazis rolling to Jutland and Danes surrendering in 2 hours. Yeah, blitzkrieg through Germany. At that point, I'll have either joined the British Communist Alliance, but then I'll have to face the Central Powers, or the Central Powers, and then I'll have to deal with... I'll have to roll into the Rhenish Republic. It might not be for a long time. If I could flip Wittenberg Communist, though, that would actually lead to these guys getting occupied. The People's Independent Commune of the Rhine, that's not necessarily a good idea, though. Alternatively, the Central Powers do manage to roll into France. They'll occupy these guys from the south. Which they're doing now. It looks like Switzerland's about to surrender. That's unexpected. It's probably all the aircraft they've given the Soviets have helped them win the air war over the Alps. Yeah, I think France will surrender soon. If they do. They're 100% fascist, but they're still, and they're below 25% stability. They actually should have a civil war to try, with the fascists, try and take over their country soon. It's got a long meantime to happen, though, so it probably won't happen before they surrender. But if they do, it'll make them surrender even faster. Of course, the fascist uprising won't be at war with the Central Powers, so it'll be kind of like a Vichy France type situation. Either way, France is going to lose, even with American troops in France, it looks like. And that's going to... Yeah, the Rhineland's going to get occupied. Well, I flipped them because I wanted their steel, but the Soviets are desperately short on steel, so if they occupy it, they'll get steel. There is no west wall, so it's not like they have... Wait, they built a level 1... They built forts along their southern border? When did they do that? I've never seen the AI do that. And their eastern border. Huh. They actually fortified their borders. I'm impressed. I've never seen the AI do that. They even built... They even built fallback forts, like in Culm. And level 5 forts. Yeah, that's going to make it harder. That could be a prolonged fighting through the Rhineland. I think I'm buying steel from them, too. It's actually going to get interrupted. No, actually I'm not. I can buy steel from them, though. Ooh, I actually get a full 8 from them. Cancel the steel imports from either Tajikistan or Sicily. Where the heck is Tajikistan again? Somewhere around here. Turkmenistan. Tajikistan. It actually matters where they are. Yeah, random events, or my spies could eventually flip them communist. In British Communist Turban, they would be at war with the Central Powers, but they would actually probably just occupy parts of the Yarkand. The Communist China wouldn't be able to hold them off at this point, which would mean it doesn't go to Clean China. Instead, I don't know if that's a good thing. Clean China is... I don't know what's going to eventually happen with them. Are they going to expand? Or are they going to... Once they've won this war, they could invade Tibet and Mongolia. They invade Mongolia. Mongolia will probably join the British Communist Alternative. So... Yeah. Denying them resources might be a good thing. Maybe not. Either way, Tajikistan is not irrelevant to the war. They will probably eventually become part of it. Kingdom of Two Sicilies is, though. There's not going to be any troops in Sicily anytime soon. Ferdinand Pius of Bourbon Two Sicilies, the Duke of Manpower Gain. He wanted to rebuild Italy from a fragmented start. These would be a good place to start from. They have resources. They have a leader who gives them extra command power gain. They start off non-aligned, so they can go to war once world tension hits 50%. They marched into the Papal States and Sardinia, Piedmont. Yeah, they could freaking form Italy. I'm pretty sure it's available as a formable. Just as Germany is, but you don't get the Germany or Italy tag for focuses, I don't think. It just gives you the cores they have in the normal game. Anyway, so I did get increased steel imports thanks to flipping the Rhineland, but that won't last long. They're going to get bombed or they're going to get occupied. I'm going to have to keep an eye on the area. Where was Altay? Gosh. Here we go. Can't send air wings. That guy's in Bornholm. Exercising. And some naval bombers. If I raise more air wings, the hope is that I don't have the manpower for more air wings. I have to wait for the ideological loyalty 500 manpower tick a couple times. Or the monthly pop growth. Okay, so I don't have the... But eventually maybe I can send air wings here once I have enough. I think it's based on air wing, like how many I have. Since they have one province, they should be able to send one air wing once I've got enough enough air wings of my own. Fun. Not importing quite as much oil as I'm using either. Yeah, I need more civilian factories. I'll have to run my civ branch. And probably, I think I'd probably just destroy the dockyard in my capital, which is like, why would you demilitarize? First off, I need resources more than any other dockyard, but also because I'll be able to get this. So essentially, I'm actually not destroying it permanently anyways. I'm just moving it west to Finn, to Odense. Moving my ship on to Odense so that I can build a civilian factory in the capital and have more factories in total. If I run down this line, I should be able to get 3 civ and 1... Really, since I have to start 3 civ for 3 focuses. It's not amazing, but it also gives me access to develop the Great Belt decisions, and if I do this, I can get synthetic resource bonuses, which I need synthetics for rubber before I go to war with the US. Otherwise, I won't be able to replace any of my aircraft losses at all. Anyways, I got an air wing here. Up to 75 casts. Yeah, I could do bombing this air zone, but I wouldn't actually be able to reach the front. But the weather is clear here, so I won't suffer increased air accidents if I want to do exercises. Also, got these guys doing pilot exercises. Alright, I can either aircrew surveys to save aircraft or effective train program to save fuel. Question is, which is more precious, oil or aluminum? Probably aluminum, so let's do aircrew surveys. It also makes eventually the swap to this sub-branch a little bit cheaper, to make it available sooner when I'm ready to expand my... have more paratroopers and actually give them field hospitals if I want, for the recovery rate, but also manpower savings. This allows more paratroopers, this allows better paratroopers, and allows my ground divisions to get cold acclimatization a little faster. Anyways, it's time to... oh shoot, I can't do both of these. Oh no, I can. It's time to do aircrew surveys to reduce air accident chances. After all, they're the ones using equipment, so why not ask them? And veteran air instructors, probably. Yeah. So that training losses, less equipment, less experience, get the train done faster. In terms of hitting the enemy harder, battlefield air interdiction will let me do slightly more damage, but I really want to waste 50 air XP on a swap later. I've already completed my entire, except forward interception, my entire air doctrine tree. I'm not going to be doing interceptors for a while. But, this says, letting the best train the rest. This also helps in combat. If I'm facing the Americans, I'm going to suffer severe attrition to my air wings. This may actually help keep them from losing their experience levels. This is actually one of the best Spirit of the Air Force commands in the game. If you're suffering from severe attrition, unless you're running fighter bombers, and then continuous strike is better. Or air power projection if you're doing a lot of... I think this effectively increases the effectiveness of strikes into other air zones by like 1/6 in terms of the number of the efficiency in like actually bombing stuff. Air power projection is nothing to sneeze at. Or the centralized control that allows you to have more aircraft in the sky when you have anything that hurts the air mission efficiency. It doesn't buff stats. It just buffs the number of aircraft in the skies. Anyways, none of them are useless. Taking that thing also removes the notice each time I load up that I can choose a Spirit of the Air Force command. I chose one, and I'll probably swap it later when it suits my needs. But for now, I'm training pilots. In Somaliland. Weather's still clear. Checking it right before I activate the exercises. Wait, I can't... I know that enabling this... Can I not train them outside my territory? I can't. It won't let me run anything, shoot. Alright, well I can either send them back to friendly territory to get training. I guess I can do that. It's not like this requires fuel to send them back. It's actually free. Air consumption, 10 fuel a day. Flying back to Bornholm. Or, I don't know how they get there, but it doesn't cost fuel. If I, otherwise I would want steel wings, steel hearts, and just use them untrained, but it's not worth that. You'll suffer so many more air accidents when you use untrained pilots, and they're less effective at their jobs. Once they get back to Bornholm, I'll start training on them. Yep, my aircraft and my navy are both competing for fuel. Have I maxed the fuel refining techs? Have I even done any? No. That's why I'm having to import so much oil. This increases fuel gain per oil, including imported oil, so I'll need fuel refining techs too. Probably more than I need the synthetic ones. It says electronics, production, and synthetic resources. I think fuel refining counts as synthetics, but I'll find out. I need oil refining technologies. I'm almost positive that excavation techs includes fuel refining. I don't know if it counts, if my steel works but that though. But whatever, fuel refining was a low priority before. It's becoming important now that I'm approaching war. Monsoon Front. I like the song. Finally getting some good songs after some really annoying ones. Alright. Bornholm, where all my aircraft do their training because there's no snow there currently. It's snowing over the Jutland Peninsula, but that also includes the Danish islands for whatever reason instead of being part of the Danish Belts air zone. I can see, yeah, stupid. Jutland Peninsula should be this. Danish Belts include the land. Probably because if you did include the land, then anti-air here would make it harder to do naval invasions, which it probably should. Honestly, the air zone borders don't always make sense in this game. They're kind of stupid at times. They're usually built for the convenience of Germany. Like the Jutland Peninsula means, oh, well, you don't have to move your aircraft when you actually march in Copenhagen after you march through Jutland if you don't accept the Danish surrender. Either way. I guess the naval bombers are just sitting here to try and increase my air wing count. 60 divisions in the training group. Everyone else is getting winter acclimatization, or they're up here. They're gonna merge into larger divisions to defend ports, or even just same-ish divisions. I don't have the manpower to enlarge these guys yet. But yeah, almost 600,000 men in my army. It's getting close to the number I was aiming for before I thought about going to war. But they're very, very under-equipped right now. Because I've sent most of my equipment to the Soviets and continued... Oh yeah, the Soviets have like 2/3 of the army are still using infantry too. I tagged over and checked. So, I could send more rifles. If I had the steel for it. More of the Madsen. Add another production line of these, because it would convert that production line to something else later. So I wouldn't want to make a 10th on the existing line. Wait, -4 steel? Oh, because I got more from the Rhineland now. Yeah, maybe I'll take the production line off improved CAS. I'm going to switch this later to a type of trainer aircraft. Except if I switch it to trainer, I'd still keep most of the efficiency. If I cancel it, I'd shoot. What I probably need to do is march into Kiel and take their factories and use that to produce more rifles. I just don't know if the Americans will say no if I try to justify on Schuster-Holstein. Why couldn't I have focuses to give me war goals? I could have. The stupid AI had not taken they'd taken a line with Norway. But that would have been claims in Norway, Sweden, and Finland, Iceland, and the United Inuit States. Yeah, they don't. It's based on aligning with Germany. It's not based on aligning with Communist Power of the North and marching south instead. It's not based on all history. The focus trees rarely are. Looks like these guys have marched. I can't actually see the supply, even though I've got a division on the way. 6 more days. Yeah, they're definitely gonna arrive on time. If I tried to the communist side has one division like this, one of these. They're outnumbered. Try and help them win the war would not go well. And they don't have any advisors or generals. They don't even like have the ability to hire a chief of the Air Force or anything. So their long-term potential sucks. There's still no way, like, there ought to be a way to promote fighter aces to Chief of the Air Force the same way that you can promote admirals Chief of the Navy or generals Chief of the Army. It even has historical precedent. Goebbels was actually a fighter ace in World War I, and he became Chief of the Air Force in Germany for a while. I think he was later replaced, moved to like production or something, industrial production, I don't remember. Historically, but for a while he was in charge of the Luftwaffe, and he was a fighter ace, essentially promoted to Chief of the Air Force before 1936, but adding a mechanism like that would be cool and allow nations that start with terrible chiefs of the Air Force to get better ones through combat. Maybe the Paradox will add it someday, but I'm not keeping my fingers crossed. Yeah, also this cavalry division will gain the junior officer in charge, will also gain experience, which means I can promote him to general, and he'll start with a little experience someday. And maybe infantry officer, even though he comes from a cavalry division. Actually, if he got 400 XP and I promote him, he could be an infantry and cavalry officer at the same time, if those aren't mutually exclusive, which they might be. But I wouldn't do that. Since if he has over 300 XP, he'd start at level 2, and I'd want like meticulous prep instead. But still, he could start off, you know, halfway to level 2 or something, which would be good. Less grinding later if I want to try and make him one of my better generals. See, on Army XP, this can be used for all sorts of things, though, from improving armored car designs to designing tanks and expanding divisions, so this isn't useless. This has been used for techs, and I still don't have my Navy doctrines, and Air XP is occasionally useful to swap off these spirits. So I'm actually doing fine with not wasting any of my currencies, using them all efficiently. Cool. Steel shortages are minor enough that producing most things at full efficiency, and I'm getting lots.